Hey mages, welcome to today's budget video today. We're doing some best of one decks. They are going to be 0 rare decks. I've got 3 more for you to play, take to the arena and have some fun with, or maybe do some dailies with, or take them to the ladder and shock some people with them and those like heavy rare decks. You'll definitely get some win with these decks today. The first one that is going to be coming up is a really cool brew. So let's take a look at that first one. It is a 0 rare blue-black Dimir Sagas deck. Really fun to play with this one. I've been having a lot of joy with it as well. Sagas are really good. They have like these 3 different lore abilities. If you didn't know, if you're a new beginner player, a lot of these videos do attract new players. So basically you have these lore counters, 1, 2 and 3. You get to go through them, and then some of them will turn into creatures as well. And this first one we're looking at, the Long Reach of Night, is one of my favourites. It turns into one of our beaters, Animus of Night's Reach. Now, we have a lot of ways for opponents. You know, we have counter spells, we have kill spells, we have sacrifice, we have discard. There's a little bit of everything in this one. And then when all those creatures go to the graveyard, Animus of Night's Reach, when this is turns from its saga into that creature, whenever it attacks, it gets +X/+0 to enter turn by X's number of creature cards in defending players' graveyard. So it does turn into a really good beater, and it has menace as well. So it's going to have to be blocked by 2 or more. So it's really hard. You know, it's really awkward to deal with, especially if you're killing all the creatures as well as you go along, and they're left with that one creature, and we can just get in for the attack. Other really good sagas in there. Kiba, you've probably seen this one played quite a bit. Drains opponent. Each opponent loses 1 life. We gain 1 life for the first 2 lore counters. Then it will turn into another menace creature, so more evasion for us. And it turns into a 2/2 Nezumi Road Captain. We don't have vehicles in this deck. It is literally strictly sagas. So let's have a look at another saga. Found in the Third Path. You may cast an instant sorcery spell with mana value 1 or 2 without paying its mana cost. So you can get this down and then potentially play one of your other spells that you may have in hand. We got like Fading Hope in there, removal with Cut Down as well. Impulse is a good one for finding what you need from the deck. And then we have removal as well in Go for the Throat. So, you know, there's plenty of ways and plenty of times that we can use this. Potentially it's not one that you want to play, you know, straight away, unless you've got maybe the value in there. But if you have to, you can, because it does play read ahead on this one, which means you can skip the first lore counter, the second one, and go straight to the third if you want. But the second one, target player mills 4 cards, is good for us as well, because we do have a certain creature that we can get down super early in Tolarian Terror, which you may see in the mono blue decks. That really, you know, this is one of their beating cards. They have the Djinn, but this is the common card that is really good. A 5/5, Ward 2, 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So, you know, if you've got maybe some dead make disappears or something in hand, you can then discard, and then Tolarian Terror potentially can come in a lot earlier and start those beatdowns, which is what it's really good for. We then have the Modern Age. Draw a card, then discard a card. Will feed into the Tolarian as well. You get to do that twice to go through your deck as well. And then this will turn into a 2/3 flyer. So although you don't see, you know, hardly any creatures in the deck, it literally just has Tolarian Terror. These will turn into creatures for us, and that is how this deck will get its wins once we get the important sagas and go through those lore counters in this. Another one, quite a favourite of mine as well, Life of Toshiro Umezawa. You get to choose 3 different options here. You can gain 2 life, kill a potential creature by giving its -1/1, or pumping up your creature to give it +2/2. So whatever you need at the time, this little 2 mana one is really cool, and you get to do that twice with that lore counter. Then the third is exiling, and it comes back in as Memory of Toshiro, a 2/3. Pay 1 life, add a black mana to an instant or sorcery spell. I've never really used it for that. Usually got your mana, but I suppose it is helpful if you get this down, you're a bit stuck on mana. You play this turn 2 because you know you will be able to play your instants and sorceries in case Arena does the old mana screw on you, which we know can happen from time to time. Other than that, in the deck as well, we got some card draw. Thirst for Discovery. Good for this deck because we run 18 basic lands. So, you know, the option potentially of discarding a basic land and keeping those other cards is very prevalent in this type of deck. We do have 3 Dismal Backwaters and 2 Waterfront Districts. Really good common, you know, gain a life, and this one potentially later on can help us draw another card as well by sacking it and paying the 4. But other than that, it's just basics. It's what is in these 0 rare decks. They're easily to upgrade in this, especially, you know, you can do the lands, maybe change some of the card draw to something like Memory Deluge, which is a really good card of an upgrade. If I just show you that one quickly for anyone that's interested in upgrades as well. But these are ready to play straight on with no rares or mythics needed. So Memory Deluge is a good upgrade for this deck. It will help you find, you know, your sagas, and it's just a different way of playing a Dimir type control deck, because we know when you go to the full rares, they have 30, 40 rares. Some of these decks, 25 rares when including the lands, and that's just in a best of 1. So this will gives you a platform, and it's to, you know, it's to play something a little bit different as well. Sagas is very fun, and you know, unless opponents got loads of enchantment removal, then they're going to find it a bit harder. They probably have the creature removal ready, as most decks do, but if you can protect them maybe with your counter spells, or bounce, you know, bouncing your sagas is a thing to do as well. When on the battlefield and opponent's trying to kill them, even saving your Tolarian Terrors, bounce it back to your hand, and then you get to play the saga again. So that's a, you know, a little swift trick that we can do to protect our board and replay some of these good sagas. So this is 0 rare blue-black Dimir sagas. Let's get on to the next 0 rare deck. So next we go to mono green, and it was requested by one of my patrons if I had a mono green poison deck, and yeah, we're going 0 rare mono green poison. This is more of a stompy, hasty kind of deck compared to the other one and the next one that is coming up. This will use poison, toxic to get the wins, and we have some really good creatures and proliferating as well to get the job done, where sometimes we don't need the creatures even on the battlefield. As long as we get that first toxic counter in, we can do other stuff as well. So let's take a look at the creatures, what we have in there. Starting off with Branch Blight Stalker as a 3/1 with Toxic 2. Nice stats, 3/1 above the 2 curve, but the 1 power, 1 toughness does hurt sometimes, can be blocked by a little pesky little token, but we have ways like Tyvor's Stand to protect it if we needed to as well. We then go to Icklespit Basilisk. As long as you know, I've been off with the flu for the last week, so pronunciations are going to be even harder this week. This one has Death Touch and is a 1/3 toxic 1, so can trade with practically anything, and can sometimes get that free attack in where opponent lets that first toxic counter in, and Basilisk will get in there for the damage. We then have Plague Nurse. This has Toxic 2. Some of our toxic creatures have higher toxicity, so 1 in the first, this is 2. Each other creature you control with Toxic 1 until end turn, you can actually give it an extra toxic and activate it only once each turn. So a good way to sink that bit of mana in. 3/4, great stats. Nice creature for this one. As well as Venomous Brutalizer. Toxic 3 on this one. So you can see we don't need many attacks, we just need them to get through. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2. If you do, you get to proliferate. So late game, not a dead card. Coming in, you can pay your 6, get this in as a 4/4, and then potentially proliferate. And it might be the last one you need to get in to get that last bit of damage in. And then we have Tyrannix Atrocity. Haste, Toxic 3. Getting the damage in with this one as well is super sweet. If we can get in there, put this on curve, and get in with no blockers available, that is what we want. Now, talking of no blockers, we have this card called Wedding Invitation, a card that I forgot about that is perfect with Toxic. Ends the battlefield, draws a card, so good for green to draw a card for 2 mana. Then we can sack it and target creature can't be blocked. Love it. Absolutely brilliant. And what's even better? Recurring that as well. So a natural restoration. We put our Wedding Invitations, we get the unblocked creatures in, it gets sacked. We play our natural restoration, we get to proliferate, so we get to put a new counter on our opponent as well. Then we get to return it as well. So we can return the Wedding Invitation, draw another card, sack it straight away as well, and then make something else unblockable. The synergy in this deck is really good, and I've been having a lot of fun with this one as well. Even if you have to get back, you're hasty as something. This combination of this and this is really, really cool for the deck. Another creature in there is Cankabloom, 2 mana. We can sack it to proliferate. Also have the ability to destroy enchantments and artifacts, but you know, potentially we are using this to proliferate. and then Thirsting Roof, a 1 mana proliferate for this deck. So if we've got that first toxicity counter on there, there is 4 more counters on there with this 1 mana card, which would be really good, which is why it's in there as a 4 of. I really enjoy playing this deck. You can probably tell by the way I'm talking about it. It's just I love decks with synergy, and especially when they have 0 rares, because it's it's a good way for I enjoy testing myself and building these sort of decks. So this for me is one of my personal favourites. Tyvor Stand I spoke about. Get the protection, hexproof, indestructible if we do need it. And then the last card I'm going to speak about in the deck, apart from the lands, is Gaia's Gift. Now, putting those blockers, like I said, if we haven't got the unblockable, we need to get over the top, and this gives it trample, reach, hexproof, indestructible, and a counter on as well. So Gaia's Gift is a really cool card for the deck, and a nice little combo trick in case we're going down with haste or we need to get that final bit of damage. An opponent thinks they're free and clear, but then we trample over and get that toxicity counter in the deck. 21 basic forests in there, and then we have 2 hunters made for a little bit of card draw. Comes intact but won't slow us down too much. We've just got 2 of them in there. But yeah, this is 0 rare poison. Can be played with 0 rares, not always just the Dimir. There's a good Dimir deck that I made that you can go and check out in a previous video about 3 or 4 videos back. But if you like green, and this is a different way of playing using some different cards, you will certainly enjoy this deck. So the final deck I've got for you today is a mono black deck, always one of my favourites. Mono black discard, using Corrupt at the top end as well. Corrupt deals damage equal to number of swamps you control, gain life equal. It's just a great finisher for budget decks. And then we have 23 swamps in there, so it's really good. But we have this discard plan here, really depleting our opponent's hands and then basically winning with Corrupt, or we have a couple of sagas on it, so you can, there's a lot of mixture with the first deck with this, just a different sort of, configuration, obviously taking blue out, but there's a lot of cards that will cross over, which means you might possibly be able to build the straight 2 decks, and have fun playing 2 different decks straight away. But this is more of a control-y sort of theme deck. We have Corrupt Court Official that can come in and opponent has to discard a card. We have Virus Beetle that can come in and do exactly the same as well. Come in and they have to discard a card. Dreams of Steel and Oil, we're attacking their hands. We're basically giving opponents, we're taking all those fancy rares and mythics, potentially, if we can, out of their hands. All those win cons that we're going to get out of their hands and leave them with nothing. And then we're going to smash in with either one of our, our sagas that can flip over. Animus, another good win con that we can have in there, because we are depleting hands and putting it all in the graveyard, so Animus is being used in this, but the main obviously win con is Corrupt. That is the way we want to be winning our games. Now also in the deck we got Pilfer, attacking hands again, making them discard. Also when you look at the sagas that we're using in this deck, like Braid's Frightful Return, we may sacrifice a creature. If we do, each opponent discards a card. Now we can sacrifice our beetles once they've done their job. We can do that, and then the make opponent discard, and then we just return the target creature card from a graveyard back to our hand, so we get the beetles back into our hand and the court officials. And also another one potentially to get back is Circuit Mender. Cool card for this deck because it gains us a little bit of life. It's a nice blocker, 2/3, and then when it leaves the battlefield we get to draw a card, so we can sack this, draw a card, we can return stuff as well. There's lots of synergy in this deck. The Long Reach of Night is in this one. Like I said, the Animus, each opponent sacrifice creature to discard a card, so more discarding cards and sacking creatures, which is good, and feeds Animus of Night's Reach. Other than that, we've got a lot of removal. We've got cut downs in there, a couple of them, which is good. Go for the Throat as well, destroying target non-artifact creature. Sheldrish Edict that can help us with a Planeswalker, just one of these in there. And then I've got a Debt to Kami because enchantments were becoming a bit of a problem. So if you find like you're coming against more, you can swap some of the numbers around for this. So I've put one of these in there. We can exile maybe a really hard creature, or target opponent gets the choice. They do get the choice though, so if they've got more than one creature on it, it's sometimes not beneficial. But sometimes it is better, easier for us to get rid of enchantment, and this is the way we're going to do it. Malicious Malfunction had to come in the deck because even though it sweeps ours and does exile ours, where, you know, it's really hard when you're facing down the poison decks with the hive decks that want to put all those 1/1 there. They can really amass the board, and we really do need to get out. But that is a very hard deck for them to, you know, for us to keep up with, which is why you might need more debt to Camis so they can exile that enchantment to get away. But, you know, that's something to think about in case that's all the meta changes around to what you're coming against. But yeah, and then we just go for our big corrupts for the win. So opponent has nothing in hand, we leave them with no creatures, and then we just bang with corrupt. That is the idea of this deck. It really is a fun deck for you to play. Definitely not for opponent. You might get some early quits if you're just like depleting hands, especially if they mulligan as well, and then all of a sudden they've got nothing left to play and they're just on top draw. One last card I forgot to mention, which is Reckoner's Bargain. Additional cost to cast a spell, sack an artifact or a creature, and then we gain life equal to that permanent's mana value. So that can help you in the aggro decks. We can sack this, gain 3 life, and then we get to draw 2 cards here, and then we draw a card with Mender as well. So potentially with Mender on the field, Reckoner's Bargain is so good. It's like gain 3 life, draw 3 cards for 2 mana. So that is a very good interaction there. But other than that, that is the deck today. And there's 3 more 0 rare decks for you to take to MTG Arena, have some fun with, like say, do your dailies, or, you know, take them to the ranks, lower ranks, even, you know, if you're behind, give them a try, see how you do. Upgrade them with various cards. If you'd like to see upgraded of these decks, let me know in the comments as well. I know some people obviously do like them, but they are put out there for you to start with and to be, you know, be 0 rare. I've got some cool 4 rare decks coming up future for in the next week or so. I've got to catch up with some content because, like I said, I've been ill with the flu for a week, but I wanted to get a video out today. And so yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it and stayed to the end, which really helps on these videos. I really do appreciate it, giving it a thumbs up. And thanks to my Patreons. If you want to become a Total MTG Patreon and you appreciate it or want to go that bit further extra, you can go and take a look at that down below, or there's a super thanks on the channel as well. But you lot take care, and I'll see you on the next video.